It's 10 o'clock.
I take refuge in the Guru. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. From now until my enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. And by the merit created in this practice, may I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness and causeless. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and causeless. May all sentient beings never be separated from joyful bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. This ground, anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, Mount Meru, encircled by the four continents, surmounted by the sun and the moon, I visualize this Buddha field and offer. May all living beings enjoy the pure land.
Ya ta bruma tari to niyo gumja sira. Good 계속. 저기 뭐냐 저거. 가면 용어면 돼요. 그거.
Tako đó.
Tako.
Good morning. Thank you for coming. Let's begin today's practice and teaching, followed by the Aryan Torah mantra recitation.
Ôi, Sumben de ma ro ma sang sa lo za ro ma da re ka mu ta da ra ye je gan se ma ta re do na tham je de ma so a ye ge je la ram de da re de re so ha da re so so da re so da re so da re so da re so Re da re so da re so
Dore
Dore so
Jiva
Di De Da Jizun Roma De Jirni Dua Shijang Ma Le Di Sala Ko Bar Sho Sun Chen Na Pa Jin Pa Ni De Na Li Tar Jir Shin
Dove
Na Ne Ma Li Wa Tang De Shong Sho Ma Nam De Dang Dan Ba Dang Sang A Din Jo Zhe Bar Zo Kan Zhu Sen Bo La So Ba Yang Jie Sen Dang Dan Jir Shi Nimo de la Chan de la Nimo Gong Yang de la Shou Nim Zhen Dong de la Be Gong Zhou Sen Yi Zha Xi Shou. Ja. Ja, gelо da ka zeng tu de ma lo zhe gu ra. Lo zhe ne de le shi de tong dong yap ji. Ji wa da ka zeng de ba de le so le shi. Qi zhong. Ni wa de da pu ge cha de ge ni wa shang shi do ni ji shang shi ji sim jiang wa ne de de shang xiam yang ji yang wei de da wo ni shi ji Niwa te kang na yo nyam na zine. Nirang da chomba ba dagnil chenpo nam tang sabji shangji senpa chenpo nam la ang yen samji ma chepa ngal mol onkyang korwa jisi parda sanjib yinme chepi goni chintan riri zam la yang songwa tang ozir na riri zam kiwa la teni kyang semchen zhang me pa nyanga li diwa ngon niwi guanpang sangji nyakshik yin la de masil rangdun pangtok tarshimbi guanpang yang sangji nyakshik tsapi dakki semchen doni tarshin sangji ji guanpang tobar shao nyamta jangwa de tawo shangshi ki sem jangwi panyun hwal shinki shikpa li shangshi sem ki sonam kang Gade de la zigche na namkei kam na gen kangde den de le lakbar kirs gangi shemi changni ki sangji shangnam makangi rinchin kinki rab kangde jiktin gonla phwawi gangi tharmo jurwi jorshede shangshibdan semdna tan manch li tena mombe semki semna shi sem mombali kewa ino shi shaba taro o itlo to dama akal wa dramek Kisa coba. Doko nana ka chura. Oh ya, tadi.
Go la. Please go to your copy, translation 80, page 80. The process of cultivating the awakened mind concerned with the attention, the fully awakened state of being. You might wonder what practical use love and compassion could be. Great beings like the Hera, solitary realizers, and the great Bodhisattvas on the 10th stage possess enabling them to work for the welfare of other beings. Nevertheless, only by attaining the state of enlightenment can they place innumerable beings in the state beyond suffering, spontaneously and uninterruptedly, until the existence. By emitting one ray of light or giving one session of discourse in addition. It is only as a Buddha that you acquire the perfection of your own personal fulfillment of abandonment and abandonment and insight. Understanding this, you should train yourself thinking, I shall attain enlightenment to fulfill the aims of both myself and all sentient beings. The bliss, the benefits and advantages of training in the awakening mind in this way can be found in the questions of Sutra, Viratuta Sutra. If the merits of generating the awakening mind were to take physical form, it would fill the whole of space and still exceeded that. Were someone to fill the Buddha field with jewels, numerous as sand grains in the Ganges, and offered them to the protector of the world, and were someone else simply to fold his hands out of respect for the awakening mind, this latter would be the superior offering, and its merits would be boundless. The compendium of training says, the aspiration for the awakening mind is the resolution to become enlightened. So this mind is this is how
단디 조 상집지 셈세야데 간다지 시기오레 또 시기라 기요레 다 저와로들이 또 저도 때라 아니 그때 토픽 간다지도 어때 요레 니 상집지 셈세야데 정말라 저런 아니 진이 상고레 진이 우때 가르즈나 샴동 냥지 혼도 송도 심지 탐질람비 심지 타지 대화당단나 등어다다나 섬비 상도 들어와 데 니모들 로고 그랬어 심지 탐지 뭐가 심진라 뭐네 심진지 등을리 단도지 삼바근네 심지 등을리 단도네 대화당담도 이 말와 어 등이 데 심진람 그 냥지 침복근네 랑네 르베르베네 데 탐지 심지 탐지 등을리 또 대화당담을 샤오 데 샤위 치때 당 닥치오시 닥치오시 빨라 동원버도 벌상요 냠비 셈텔라 상치지 셈세고 다 동원버도 벌상이나 가르 요레지니 저와도 물소때 오늘 동원버도 벌상이나 카브르가로즈나 나 녀랑 다좀 봤던 사지 상치 셈바도 섬이 전두시고다 상지기 나진 니와요 말했신 상질라 니와 거로서 언제 코라치스 코라 마통비 벌 생기 드비니 고니 셈진지 돈 바도 까치 잠라야 셰기 니와 정말 봐 요레스 또 요비 짐승 가레즈나 돈이 탈신 바레스 돈이 탈신지 돈이 오때 가르자 랑돈도 잔돈이 오 탈신 바레스 랑돈 잔돈이 탈신 바 간다지 탈신 바레즈서 데네 기킨로 혼도 송웨네 손이 용수 조바레스 돈이 탈신 손이 용수 조용으로서 돈이 탈신 바 용수 아니 다 잔돈 마음을 흔들때 용거레스 대체 심지 탐지 돈 탈신 바 탈신 당 간르지 떨죠 아니 돈이 탈 손이 요소고 손이 가르지나 손음지 소도 이시 소레스 손음지 속세야 등아도 지속 80적 능력에 80지 등 체가지요 이시지 소세야 되는 셰르기 바로 드신 바당 가기나나 something 바로 드신 배 체가지로 어떻게 전에 카운터 바로 드신 바 공발라 때비 돕기 아니 뻥통 탈신 말이지 뻥아들서 거기 요몽의 드바당 시시 드바 용소가 뽕아래 뽕아 탈시 말이지 뽕바 탈시 용소 디게 드비 아니 뭐 탈지만 통월시비 드바지고라 데 드바 용소 땅에서 똑바 탈시 말 차정 캠 탐지 캠바 차정 똑바 탈시 말 인자 소소로 교매와 연된 근당 담바에서 연기 뜬시 발 한기 드바래 가르치나 지대와 니와 요레스 뜻이 용소 때네 티 드럼니 상기기 연데 근데 삼기 맞지바지 요 하고나 상지 샘께 보래 상지 샘께 바나 상지 샘께 비 파윤다 단단조 농두조 땅지니 아니 그냥 건가세도 좋은 건가 야가르 그 좋은 건기 담나 셰마치 좀 요바 티 땅리 냠비 아니 그런 거 상지 땅에 발을 줘봐 보아니 상지 샘께는데 파윤치 그래 어다 근디 땅조 농두조 지땅네 어떻게 송요르시
And here, our essential point that we need to understand is about the bodhicitta or awakened mind. So, we're familiar with this concept of bodhicitta or awakened mind or mind of enlightenment. So the question is then, who has that bodhicitta, or in other words, who is someone fully developed the mind of enlightenment, awakened mind. And then second question is how we can develop such a mind. So bodhicitta, or the awakened mind, is the result of something, and that is it's involved with the causes. So, in other words, it is a result of a particular cause. That cause can be understood as two causes. In other words, produced from the two causes, and that causes the immediate cause. The immediate cause, two causes, two immediate causes of bodhicitta are first is kindness, and second is compassion. So kindness and compassion both are aimed all other sentient beings. In other words, the sentient being is the development of one's compassion and kindness. Compassion and kindness can be developed. In other words, to be developed, one must focus on focus on all other sentient beings. The way we, at this point, take the sentient being as the object of our meditation on kindness and compassion is that based upon the clear understanding about the status quo of the sentient being, or the forms of that they are undesirable reality. So you reflect upon, or repeatedly upon, and their conditions, and then think about how you can respond to desirable status quo or the condition with the kindness, or be kind to that situation, to the sentient beings. In other words, to bring the joy and try to release or try to free the sentient beings from bring joy to them, and make them feel joy and happy. At the same time, also to think about how you can able to free the sentient beings from suffering, and particularly the causes of suffering, how to address it. how to help them to free or break through the causes of all kinds of sufferings. So, see, while you are attempted to develop a kindness, meaning that bring the joy to others, and at the same time also try to cut or root out the causes of the sentient suffering, then you will develop make a step forward to develop the pure intention. That's the essence of the bodhicitta. That is, you want to attend the Buddhahood yourself. While you have while you would or you will have such a pure intention, altruistic intention, want to be Buddha for the sake of all sentient beings. The reason is because while you attempt to respond kindly and be very compassionate and to others, and you realize that you have to be Buddha yourself, meaning you have to be fully a enlightened one, who is the one fully able, capable, has all the skillful means and wisdom and supernatural powers and so on and so forth, which is necessary to fully address or to help all sentient beings overcome the suffering and the cause of suffering. So, if I understand that to be a Buddha, to become Buddha, and then it's the only solution, then determined to be the Buddha yourself. At this point, so you aimed to your goal, your spiritual goal is to be a Buddha, which is absolutely important and to make such a determination. Why? Because when you compare to the Shravaka means the hearers, the disciples of the small vehicle, and or Pratyeka Buddha. So both the Pratyeka Buddha, solitary realizer, and Saratika, the heroes, they are the greater beings. They are noble beings, and they do have the incredible spiritual powers and insight, and able to do tremendous things for others. However, compared to the Buddha, and then they are the ones who haven't yet perfected the two purpose or successfully perfected achieved the attainment of the two purpose. The two purpose is the purpose of self and the purpose of others. Simply put, compared to Buddha, their capacity in terms of serve others and help all sentient beings, and is limited. So, with this understanding, or based on and this clear understanding, then you aim to achieve Buddha, become Buddha yourself by perfecting or achieve the two attainment of the two purpose of the attainment. Like that, we talked about it before. So the purpose of self, but that is perfectly free yourself from the defilements and the causes of defilements, and at the same time, also to perfectly achieve the free yourself from the obstructions to the knowledge. This means that the way to perfecting the two purpose and that is necessary to become the Buddha, you have to accomplish the two collections of the two collections, or the practice of two collections, the collection of merits and the collection of wisdom. And collection of the merit, we know that is involved with the perfect, they enable you and as a Buddha to be able to performing and to manifesting in various forms and perform all kinds of deeds according to the needs and the background of all predispositions of all beings without make an effort. In other words, effortlessly or spontaneously. And the perfection of the wisdom, then, in other words, by perfecting the collection of the wisdom, and then you will fully achieve the realizations of the nature of reality, and this clear understanding of ultimate nature of reality to help you to abandon the defilements and the causes of the defilements. More importantly, your understanding or the realization of the actuality would help you to root out the obstructions to the knowledge, will enable you to become all-knowing or achieve the become omniscience and have achieved omniscience. So this is like we know that the way to achieve the two collections, the practice of collections, you need specifically or precisely speaking, you needed to engage in the 6 greater perfections of Paratina Paramita. You know, from the great perfection of generosity and ethics, and the patience and altruism. So those 4 and a half and 3.5 is engaged in help you to fulfill the purpose of the practice of the collection of merits. Then the great perfection of meditation and wisdom would help you to achieve or fulfill the purpose of great perfection of wisdom. So here, to be Buddha is necessary in order to fully help others, or ultimately to fulfill the needs and helping the others free and also changing from the samsara. Again, the reason for this is because only the Buddha who possessing the two the two collections of the practice of collections, and only the Buddha who is perfectly achieved completed the two purposes, the purpose of self and the purpose of the others. So therefore, it's Buddha's quality, and so sets your the ultimate goal as to be a Buddha, and is of the practice of bodhicitta. Again, because the Buddha has the reason for this is that Buddha has such a not just in the state of like a realization, but Buddha has in terms of several others who has the tremendous power and innumerable and very skillful and can perform the innumerable deeds and spontaneously and simultaneously and to fulfill the needs and the desire for all others. So therefore, we do need to take this into the heart of our practice and to try to develop fully understand the essence of bodhicitta and the importance of necessity of the development in the bodhicitta, and then moving forward to that perfect goal. So here in the textbook, in our text, it is clearly and it showed us kind of provided the blueprint for us, and so in order to do that, the author not only theoretically explained us the reason and the procedure, the process, and the practice itself, but also sides from the scriptures and to demonstrate the great merits of the development bodhicitta. Like it says about the sand grain, number of the sand grain at the bank of the river Ganges. If you compare and if you think about the merits, right, and or the benefits of the generated awakened mind. So as far as the benefits are concerned, so it's a complex, it's immeasurable. So the number is completely complex because you can't count, just like that you can't count the numbers of the grain of the sand at the river at the bank of the river Ganges.
어딘서 당가도 보이는 걸. 어떤데기 상처지 섬겨 상처 섬대기로 상처 바섬지 던지 바섬지 이즈는 시고 다 몽바섬지 세드 던데지고 원이 전 심지 탐지 던 성지지 공방 톱트나 바로 뜻은 바들라 탑네 고모 톱트나 삼레 더모지 종나 삼베 삼노데 몽바리 몽비섬지 바 지바섬지 세드 어때 던데지기 어떤 나라텔라베 다다니 라른 담네 성지지 공방 톱이 쳇 심지 탐지기 돈도 성지지 공방 톱이 쳇 바로 뜻은 바들라 지기인 지바체 소소 라른 담 잡바텔라 지바섬지 세고르지.
So now let's look at the awakening mind of bodhicitta from a different perspective. Bodhicitta technically has two folds. One is we call the aspirational bodhicitta, and the other is called the practical bodhicitta. Aspirational bodhicitta sometimes translated as wishing bodhicitta. The wishing bodhicitta or the aspirational bodhicitta or awakened mind is that it's a kind of a mind or the state of mind where you wish, right? You sincerely wish that you can attend the Buddhahood based upon your understanding of the importance of Buddhahood and the qualities of Buddhahood, and then wish that you can attend and become Buddha yourself, and for the benefits of all sentient beings. So having this strong and aspiration and strong determined to a wish to have such a quality or become the enlightened one yourself, that is the wishing bodhicitta or aspirational bodhicitta. The second forms of bodhicitta is called the practical bodhicitta or the actual bodhicitta. The practical actual bodhicitta is the bodhicitta that is no longer and remain and in the state of wishing or hope, right? And just in aspirational, but rather is you are physically now engaging. You are actually moving and taking action yourself and moving forward to achieve the Buddha. So you are practicing. You put yourself into the actual spot of the action, and then that leads you to the Buddha. That is the practical or the actual bodhicitta.
이따다 바로 드신 버티글라 정동 가드 생기잖아. 다 세 소네 링금 그 리당 갖고 그 쇼때 송을 셔바더래. 다디 자네 처럼 그 만든 쇼데 소 무시와지 요모모와지 빠가메 바세 문턱이 쇼데 되자 대용 마 다시 당내 대용할 때 까지네 소소 엉이 처럼 송 네들네 지금은 세데 처럼 송을 좀 송한테 나라는 그 뭐제들 대치기도 송네 좀 송한테 대좀 니와지 그래. 심지어 탐지기도 내가 상지지 공부 토부식이 있는지 디체등이 좀 송게 삼노다나 어떻게 상지지 셈거 달래나로 대체 엘리가 있으면 그쯤 송하더래. 리응에서 그좀 송용을 쏘네 먹이지 봉부처럼 전에 또 정말 송네 민진 동부 무시와서 무시나 송화 그런 하고 말고 동부 이도 정말 먹이지 봉탑자 하고니 때네 하고 용서 레몬스 때 송집지네 뜻이 원도 만로한테 스톰세고라. 때 원도 도와 참참 마시와지고 참참하니 요모원가니 롱메벌로 참참하니 빠가메바지 섬노 영진이 강정만지 때리지네 창으로 통선에 빠가메 자루 가시야 하고 넘버 남시 무서워 창으로 되자 어떻게 정도 되자 때 마용고 탑로 당고는 송한테 심지 탐지 등을 저그 조이체 띵아 원버서 상이 제 등이 송고요 섬 당고 송고이나 편치 보여래 퍼센트가 나로 대자다 니와데 짐바세야 때라 짐바 땅스 요모모 마시와는 동안 종이고 빠가메빠는 동안 종이고 요모모는 동안 종이고
요모야 그지나 거다 야야
뜻이야 뜻이랑이 짐바데 뒤촌나 니와치
So now let's talk about the actual the contents of our practice and or how you can physically and touch upon the specific or the engaging yourself and take the actual action. And then, which leads you to the attainment of Buddhahood. Let's start with the 6 great perfections of wisdom. First of all, the 6 great perfections, and as we discussed before, so the very first thing is the perfection of so for example, like the second great perfection of wisdom, that is ethics, right? Or shila in Sanskrit. Shila or the moral ethics. Here, the way you taking the practice of moral ethics in the context of as a means to transform yourself and from an ordinary being to become an enlightened being, to become a Buddha, is basically, your focus is that on your actions of your body, actions of your speech, and actions of your mind. Let's see what is the Shila or the moral ethics in this particular context. Moral ethics is the practice that, or the practice of moral ethics is basically is you are doing something or your action is the opposite, okay, from the those anti moral ethical action or behavior. So this requires us to understand that what are the opposite of moral ethics, right? So when you say you are practicing moral ethics in the context of the greater perfection of wisdom, as the Bodhisattva would do, which means that you are observing or you are following the set of moral ethics that is opposite from the immoral, that is non-virtue. And so you are completely moving and direct your body, speech, and mind towards the complete opposite direction and against the immoral and non-virtuous speech and mind. The key difference here has been made when you take the moral ethics as the means in the Mahayana context and the practice as the means of a Mahayana practice, a Mahayana Buddhist practice. That is, now you are observing, for example, like at the body level and the speech level, mind level, you do exactly doing the same thing like others would do, non-Mahayana Buddhists would do. But the key difference is doing so just for yourself in this lifetime, primarily for yourself, right? Rather, you keep yourself like constrained from the non-virtuous action at the body level, speech level, and the mind level. You're withdrawn from a non-virtuous action is merely because you want to benefit all sentient beings. This means that you're observing, you're following, you keep your moral ethics purely, right? And not try to avoid it from any forms of transgression is not for yourself. There's no self-interest involved, but rather is aimed for the sake of all other sentient beings. This is the key difference between the Mahayana way of practice moral ethics and the non-Mahayana practice of moral ethics. So generally speaking, when we observe in or follow the moral ethics, we have to know that very often it is harder for us to moral ethics purely because we sometimes fail to transgression and fail to follow the moral ethics purely because either we don't know what is the moral ethics. Right? Unknown is the one reason we may fail to follow the moral ethics purely, and secondly, because we are so defiled, being so very much defiled, or because of defilements, also we may engage into the non-virtuous action, and then a third is because of so being non-conscientious also would lead us to the non-moral ethical behavior or the practice. To understand what is the object of moral ethics and how to follow it.
어때 자다 당보데 다 짐바 짐비 파르드 심발라 짐바 땅 짐비 땅 이제텔라 짐바 땅 사텔라 가서 심징의 돈도 리 링어 가서 리 롱초 디심지 개와세들 다 좋은가도 당도 준비 저때 선보다 땅 토와이나 다 준비 바로 짐바세 짐바세 소 아니 파 인치미 있잖니 지금 때라 설리 공부했나 짐바 다파 ngote te tang ne phayin te mara chor te ma chi ne tong yi san ba je tong yi sem bi tang ne tang za sem bi tang ne o tang ni li long zhou di sim ji ge wa de tam chi sem chi tam chi sang ji yu che tang ni ba zhe cai yin di zhe ne ne nga rang di liu zhe bi ni wa le de ne sem chi tam chi don de sang ji go mo tong go de sang ji go mo to wa de sem chi tam chi ke bi go mo to bi che de yin de de ngo ne tang ai na 동을 선바되나 점바서로 점바되자다 점바 땅소네 저땅안에 땅안에 오 가시가 천년 땅아요 근데 데리게 땅 섬지 탐지게 돈도 상지지 공방치도 오아이나 땅아이나 데라네 바로 뭐 가르치 샤와강시나 뒤쪽도 오아이나 데네 그 조지신문어서 그래 고 베나 복성 비상은 료데 가티나 조아메 받지 기데 그래지 파윤 뜬뜬 성지지 공방 마토 와 첨부제도 노데 그래지 다만 그런 거 미와 소소고 먹일 총총적이 돈도 뭐이나 답이나 샹동 잡아 때 달로 사면 답나 달로 기도 로지마 양 명양 잡아 끼고 나티 먹일 로 총총 뜨나지 타마치 조나더니 소소고 료티 돈도 뭐비 와 치사 돈도 돈소나티 네 사는데 니와 조노고요 그래 심지 상지지 공방 그 쳤던 뭐이나 상마지 기와도 못는 기와도 데데 그래지 딱 전주기 동나 파인 레우 조직 레우 섬그 동나다 당부 동나 영지 성심기 파인십이 같을 때 망아 용 거라 어들이 시고 자다 점바 땅 세도 똥을 셈 바로 소 처럼 송을 셈 바들 소 송심동 동심 뉴때 같이 보고 동심동 송심 뉴요나 근데 랑징거 동심도 요나 그런 가데 파쇼를 심지 담지 땅 선바도 심지 담도 갈리도 다리로 엉서지니 땅 사이다 람성 심지 롱지고나 그런 나와 요 말이야 semnanga kara li tangura longcho tangona ane yawa tangona tela sarna choni omar sozo pe kali jak thakor ngazo tanda soso rang tondwa kali jak thakor de jeji tondwa kali jak thakmandwa oti jimba la son de parot simji tangdo simji tamchi tond ka kangena pe tari ngso chi thwate jimba res chitum se ate songsam re songi samba se ata ane tya yogo shigo res so
So now let's go back to talk about the first great perfection of wisdom, that is generosity of giving. Generosity giving, again, you have to have some kind of resource or the base from which you can implementing or you can start with. So our very base of the practice of generosity, of great perfection, wisdom for generosity, it has to start with our body and our speech and whatever we have or we all entitled to do and give. In other words, we are authorized to give, make a decision freely, and then decide to give to others freely. One thing we have to know is that what is the opposite mental attitude of the giving or generosity, right? What, in other words, what opposites, right, oppose your very practice of the great perfection of generosity? That is miserliness. Okay, miserliness. No, the stingy. So miserliness, stingy is the opposite force of the generosity. Right? And the one thing we have to keep in our mind is that when we talk about the generosity of giving, here we are primarily talking about the attitude. Okay. A mind or the attitude, a state of mind and that is giving. Okay, that is in the form of the give away. Right? So you have a mind that is ready to give away your body and in order to serve others, and you have a mind or a form of attitudes that is ready and to give it your speech, or you willing to give use your speech as a means to serve others. So giving your body and then giving the services to your speech, the power or the functions of the capabilities of your communication, skills of communication, or the powers of the communication, verbal communication, and give it to others, serve others. And then thirdly, again, it's mental. So you have the mind, you are being the form of a mental attitude that you want to give away all the things, the good qualities that you accumulated in the past, present, the future. So whatever you possess, right, and you are ready, you're willing to give it to others or use it for the sake of all other beings, benefits of other beings. So this is the base, the essence of the generosity, of the practice of perfection, great perfection of wisdom.
Mhm.
And very often in our day-to-day practice, or as ordinary novice, right? We often experience that, or we know that there's cases of people who give, who are love to give, right? And they're very kind and generous, and they give things to others. But they are often fail to do it as we described here. We are explaining the Bodhisattva's practice of generosity. It's because they're giving, maybe they're giving a huge, but when you examine their attitude, their purpose, the reason they do so, in many cases, they're doing so because they believe they will become famous, they will own the great reputation and gain the respect from others, and even can gain and obtain more. So this is not the right attitude. This is not the right form of generosity that we are talking about here. So the generosity or the giving we are talking is we're not aimed to, as a professional, we're not aimed for all this kind of a mundane concern at all. There's no slice of interest and concern about how much we will obtain. There's no such thoughts or feelings at all. We are giving merely because we, as a means to obtain the Buddhahood. Again, the reason, the mere reason we want to attain Buddhahood is for the benefits of all sentient beings. This is just like in the Shantideva said in Bodhicharya Avatara. The Bodhisattva's practice of generosity is like to get the fruits from the wish-fulfilling tree, and then from you pick up the fruits from a wish-fulfilling tree because it is a miraculous tree, and no matter how much you exhaustion working and the flash and it will never finish it. So that's how when you engage in the practice of generosity, based upon the understanding of use as the great perfections of and one of the great perfections of wisdom, then you are like you pick up fruits and you give into the others. And then by contrast, practice generosity, but not from the Bodhisattvas, driven by Bodhisattvas awaken the mind. Then what you do is your practice is in terms of the outcome. It's like you go to the ordinary tree and in the fall, you pick up the fruits from that tree, and then once you pick it up, you take it all from the tree, and then the result is then there's no more fruits on the tree, and so it's gone. Then so it has a limit. It's very limited in terms of outcomes of the generosity. So therefore, we have to think about like Shantideva as an example, right? And we at the beginning we practice generosity of giving, right? Our body, speech, and mind, and our all the things we possess, the virtues, qualities we possess. So we need to do it exactly like the Bodhisattvas do. At the end, we also need to do the dedication. And like again, the Bodhisattva's way of life, and by Shantideva, now when he talks about the remarkable the benefits of the bodhicitta, and so he's talking about that when you dedicate your practice in it as a bodhisattva, and then the result itself, it will never exhaust it. It will produce the fruits itself is a produce a fruit, and so it will become endless. So therefore, it is important for us to do the dedication at the end and do it correctly. Essentially, the practice, the great perfection of moral ethics and the great perfection of generosity, both of them is a mentality, is a mental attitude. Like we talked about before, the great perfection of wisdom and moral ethics is a form of attitude, is a form of a mind, a state of mind where this mind is enable you to restrain from all the non-virtuous action. So that is the essence of or the characteristic of the moral ethic wisdom, great perfection wisdom. And again here, the great perfection of generosity is the mind. The mind is the giving, is open to, is sort of a sending out, right? This is sending out open to the opportunities and to giving, and is the mind that you are preparing as a result of your preparation of the giving. Right now, like let's say we are willing to give, but we are practicing the giving, but we are not totally open to what we possessing. Right? We still have a strong sense of reservation. We reserve, right, and a certain thing, and we're not really fully ready to give all to all. Right? But the practice of generosity and is the practice basically is the practice yourself and prepare yourself to absolutely ready, right? Just like right now, if you do something for yourself, you will not tired of it, right? You will interested, you will have become very energetic, you're happy to do. But if you do the things for others and without any reward, you probably were not that much interested, willing to give. Why? Because you are not fully prepared yourself, right? Through this practice of generosity and meaning by preparing yourself absolutely ready, then when the situations is ripen or the conditions ripen or you're ready, you just do it so simultaneously and the things will be very spontaneous to you.
다 스마텔라니 조바로 조바세야다 딩글라 맞으나 조금지 강아지 태우로 강아텔라 동는지 맞으 남지 강아지 태우서 런징그 텔라 때네네 셰당 기용고 어때 강아지 좀 텔라 조트나 텔 셰당도 용투고 막 까르고 되자 조바세 뜻으로 되자 소소 연도 셰베 섬지 연기 돈시나 레로 요말 섬진 섬당 감당 미완 람라인 사는 코주 가줄라 람시와데 뱀 강차니라 노바짱 주텔라 노바데 조트와이나 조바스고라 어디자다 아니 강치나 섬지 돈데 젠지 노바카치나 니텔라 조금지니 아니 가지기 인사 조송 데레 조금지 트위 니와치텔라 조바스고 조바지 고사 조바 곰사텔라다 남만아 조요르다 다니엔 와슴 탑지요 데자나 텔라 조바곰니 가르치 쳇트 조바곰고 요즈나 쳇타니 심진 탐지 그던데 네 공부 좀 성이 쳇점이 조금지기 요 강을 노는지기 요 네 조바곰 드나데 네 바로 텐로 그랬어 조비 퍼센트로 그랬어 좀비 나라로 그랬다 탐바션 정말 탈시 받는다 성이 공부야 로거를 탈시 받다 자꾸 말다 좀비 나라로 그랬어 정말
The third perfection of wisdom is the patience or tolerance. Patience in this particular context is that when you're experiencing any form of aversion or the sense of undesirable feelings of something, anything that is undesirable, namely that's the pain, right? There's a frustration, is kind of a setback. So when you experience any form of setback, frustrations, disappointments, that makes you feel pain, feels unhappy, right? And when at the moment when you experience such a feeling of unhappy, the disappointment, frustrations, disappointment, right? You immediately apply antidotes. The antidotes to overcome this feeling, to suppress this feeling of disappointment, a sense of hardship, a sense of aversion, and that very application of overcome this disappointment and this frustration, that is the essence of tolerance or the patience. Because our experience tells us when we feel things are hard, did not appear or turn out the way we are expecting, we will feel hard, either physically or mentally, right? We will feel being challenged. That is the very sense of a challenge will give us a sense of pain or suffering. Very often, our response, the way we respond to the suffering and to this undesirable feelings is against it, right? And or just after that, the negative feeling, right, disappointment or hardship, right, frustration is openly to respect and let it freely and dictates our body and our verbal expressions. But here, as a practitioner, that when we physically experience exhaustions and pains and discomfort, anything, and also verbally, when we hear something that's unpleasant, undesirable, and unhappy about it, mentally, when we experience the feelings, the senses that is frustrating, that is disappointing, and that is being challenged. So another very moment of the experience occur in our body, speech, and mind. It feels hard. It feels and some kind of harm, right? Feelings of we are being attacked, right? There's something kind of harmful. In that very moment of recognition of harmful, that something that harmful is not good, then you immediately press break on it, meaning do not let the aversion, right, the anger or any negative feelings empower you, but rather you immediately transform, right, and then those negative feelings, right, into the practice itself, the spiritual, take it as a spiritual path. Do not let them overpower you. That is the essence of the practice of great perfection of tolerance or patience. So here we often say meditation on patience, or enduring the undesirable feelings or undesirable scenarios, situations, experiences. It's undesirable scenario, feeling, and experience, right? It can be brought to you by someone you call the enemy, and also can bring to you caused by your beloved one, someone you're very close, and also could be brought to you by someone, a stranger, is neutral. It was neither your friend nor your enemy. So we need to understand that how this the sense of frustration, right, and arise or could arise from where, right, and then we need to know that the importance of apply the antidotes in the right on the spot. But one of the critical things which we needed to bear in our mind all the time is that unlike other non-Mahayana practices, we do practice the great perfection of tolerance or patience is not for ourselves, not scared of, worried about outcome and the negative outcome, right, and which affect us, but rather we do practice tolerance and patience, right, at the events that at the time or at the point being mistreated, right, and we apply the tolerance is merely for the sake of all sentient beings. That is the essence of the practice of great perfection. Of course, this is not a great perfection of itself, but it's the practice. It's the actual and the dedication, the engagement of the great perfection of tolerance. The only one who perfected the great perfection of the tolerance is the Buddha. So in other words, the real tolerance of the great perfection of tolerance and it only can be perfected when you attend the Buddhahood.
Oh yeah, that draw no tanda ti cho do kra. Draw me na.
So now we are, it seems that we are running out of time, and I would like to open the floor to you all and let you ask questions.
I guess I have a question on that related to situation. Well, I recently had somebody bust a window out of my truck, and so in some ways you could say that I created an enemy through a lack of patience. If it was who I think it was, which I don't. But then there's a situation of, I'm going to press charges if they find the guy, which they probably won't. I want a situation like that where you got to decide whether or not you're going to press legal charges against somebody. Is that I mean, that's like a kind of act of revenge, which seems like maybe that's against having a certain amount of patience. So I guess I think that's a fairly standard question. How do you have patience with somebody that is maybe removing your own tool of survival, put it that way, or
Okay. Dans l'un qui bon là dans des ya ni nyaman dia ke dalam zobe ke nyamlan de song tang bina ani ko ke chumla miti chumla jarje tumpa ya na tu ni ko la ni ba dia da yore da yo so ni di nyamlan samsa di nyamlan na zobe ke pa so de zobe nyamlan de song tang na yang ko ta ja jo da ma che de ina de ya wi na ngal sa na ini multi ya shimji da mendo da ina yo da mo da din da wen na ma su su ale so the ji da cho bo ya de na den ni cho a jie bo ya ge ni yo xie xie bo a ma cha xie bo a de ji ji ni la cha de ni ko cha de ji na ma su su cho de na la ta na de bo an da den ni da bo ne yo ba de ni na ta ni xie
这大那个就真的可能错误，这个城市等下就真的可能错了呢。가지를 미 참말로 첨세도 미치라 뭐가 말뭐 참말로 뭐니 조이다 첨세들이 때 참아띠 올란 로고요 지금 아니 니니 결혼 그 삼도 땅에 아니 첨때 뜨니 파쇼띠가 띠짝고 염천도 강하다 트샤 가르치 자가라 그런 거 마시위 한거 자가래 채뜬 건데 공도는 자가래 채뜬 건데 공도는 자나 채뜬 건데 공도는 띠 예로도 강한 사가래 그런 거 노트치니 콜라 마롱아 중간에 띠마 잠바 기친 기탕 깨매지가 요 말 기탕 깬지요 기탕 깬지요 자 아니 그런 거 삼만이 띠리기 쇼리 자가이나 딱 니츠로 와지리 그런 삼비 그놈요 말 그런 삼지 자가이나 그런 라 그놈 강지요 강한테 간듯이 그런 라 저런 좀 여고니 간듯 조이나 때 삼당 거 때지네 에네 오 따때 뭐니 전에 딱 그런 게 셈마 그런 강지 강 딱고 김바로 롱 지만 요다때 메나 다 자정마 다 그런 때 강들 좀 배주기 좀 전부터 요다 다 저런 게 노트 좀 요라다 콜라 강지 조에 띠 강지 람바로 차도다 소분전 거. 때 말에 다 그런 못니한테 되게 지금 미 탕탕 메교로 되게 못니 되리나 다때 고 파쇼텔라 같이네요. 난가 같은 거로 셰르페 줬다네. 첨 땅고나 마오나 첨 땅네 띠 지마 마오나 띠 마용이 탑름도 가르치고 띠 tomato jitane ji ngoi ni chula sipi lalin tab yor ma to ta chik de ji gor jeng ti ta sti ko maro ngi ti se ji ma 자꾸 저 손에 여다 줘
나
ngi chik gor ji che chi 조금 쇼 지 마 자꾸 제 손에 여다 줘
그래
또 소소 리파페 주 땅지니 같이 거르지
Okay, here is my sort of simple reaction. Open to hear your brief story. What I'm thinking is this. Let's put it this from a large context, a broader context. Essentially, we are in a samsara, or we are in this imperfect world. Okay? So this is our condition. Since we are in the imperfect, living in this imperfect world, so therefore, the laws and rules are become necessary. Okay? And so the laws and rules, regulations, and that is desired or implemented, it has to be applied to all individuals. In other words, everyone has to comply with any rules and laws, regulations that desired by or constituted by the respective the bodies of and the lawmakers. So no one should make exceptions. Make no exception for anyone. Everyone has to go with it and live under that rules, the laws and regulations. Having said that, now when we apply this basic concept in our daily life, we have to apply this accordingly. In other words, we have to analyze the circumstances, the scenario, because it is obvious that anything happen and definitely involved with the primary cause and the immediate condition. The immediate condition plus the primary cause, and those are the two things, and it determines the occurrence of the event, right? You cannot find anything a compounded phenomena that is produced from nowhere and or without any primary cause in the condition. So now we need to take one more step, that's looking the motivations. That is becoming more subtle, right? Externally, the cause and the primary cause and the conditions of the events, it has to be considered as a practitioner, and we have to bring another factor into the consideration. That is our motivation and also the motivation of the troublemaker. Right. So, like in the case of you, it's up to you, right? It's depends on how you understand your own motivation, right? And your understanding about that person, and your understanding about that troublemaker who did such a bad thing to you. Right? So you need to analyze that person's motivation, why he did so that day, right, in that way. Right? Was he willingly, right, did so, or was he aimed to do something as expression his anger, right? In other words, so under the strong influence of defilement, he lost his mind, so therefore, and he did such a bad thing. And or another possibility is that person who is kind of mentally ill, or he is a person, and under the normal circumstances, he is stable, and he is not crazy. But somehow, and he is not like under the influence of drugs and or alcohol and on that type of external influence, but rather he is someone who just has attitude and is a mean and irresponsible person, but mentally he is kind of relatively unstable. If that's the case, and then you are kind of sure, and that person not only did this to you in this particular case, but he could do the same thing, even bigger harm and brought big harm into others. If you think that that is the case, maybe take a legal action if necessary. But remember, in this case, you are not going to punish him, and because you want as a response, as a revenge, or make him pay what he has done. But rather, you want to make sure that you're going to do so, take such action, and you want to protect others from the horrible losses that occur to you. So see, your motivation at this point is no longer about you, but rather for others. And also your understand about your motivation and others and the troublemakers' motivation, both are kind of clear. And so I must to say that we have to go through the case in each situation when you need to apply the practice of tolerance. You have to apply the reasoning, right? And use your logical reasoning and with a good motivation, and from case to case. I guess that's probably the best advice I can tell you, because I do not want suffered unreasonably and unnecessarily, but I also do not want to give you some kind of advice that is spiritually not sound.
Yeah, that makes sense. In trying to figure out who might have done it, I mean, I've probably been in at least 2 arguments in the last couple of weeks, which are arguably from lack of patience. And then the other thing is that anger just can be so self-defeating. It's non-productive, but it takes a lot of discipline to not be angry in situations like this. It always ends up being counterproductive. So yeah, that's a good answer. Sort of when the question of whether or not to press charges, to sort of frame it in terms of whether or not there's going to be problems for other people. It sounds wise to me. So thanks.
这个高兰的能这种蛋白质的，但是不是种药水啥
알았어. 야, 달라면 뭘로 놓고 그치?
Now let's said Lamrim
소장 야채 담반다가
70.
80로 야채 담바.
Oh, 80, I'm sorry. 80.
ge ma cho sha jang nyam bar jer vi sho de nyang je chen bo yo ro cho ba de sa war she bar sho se je ya we ma shong chen le la zhu shang qiu lang jie re bei zhang tan du nan jie yu la hu de sha ya wei za ba ran de zhong zhi zang zhe bei ten jian zhe xi shang ga xian se xie me dang me gen ce ru gan de yao wei ngao ba yi nan dao nan dang shou wer ma jie ji gang zi ta ba chou la qi zhou ji ci zhen zhen la zuo ba de yi de nan ji da de zhou xi xiang zhao xi yang zuo shou gen zhao ji zhao wei la ma ren bu jin da su nian ge ba mei dang ji na ga zhen qian bu gu ni ji zong de ge song de ji ni zhe za de su shang zhi sen chuo ren bu di wan de ji 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 jie wa nian ba mei bu ren yang gong de bei wu shou gang zhe zhe wei gu wei shang geng de pan dang de wa ma li zhong wei zhen jian zu yi sha bei sen de wa de dan yi ji jia bu bao wu zhe de ren qian ba dang gen de zong wu de yang de jin de da gen ji ji si dang lu ge wa de da tam zhi ra de ngo de si me xiao bei ya wa tam zhi ji wa gang lang zhu de ngao ba de da zhen ge wei za wa de ngo zhu shi ra de ngo er ji pan de zhong de dan ba de shang yi dan zhen jie wu tam zhi geng geng zang de zhen gen la de jin zhong wei都的一节就在这跟的要啊中高位，他说新年的也是在别的也为我被朗上的年，个就这样都不是嘛点儿就，这从这是的嘞啊。